I am Cinnamon Cooney, your Art Sherpa, and today I'm going to show you how you can paint at home these two adorable birds on branches. They're so fun. They're so cute. They're very beginner friendly, all levels of painter. I'm going to explain this lesson step by step, completely in real time. To help me do that is my husband, John.
Hello.
He's going to make sure that the cameras are pointing at the techniques that I'm demonstrating, the color mixes that I'm doing. Now, if this is a lot of fun for you, this is actually the second painting in a big beginner acrylic video painting series that is a beginner acrylic painting course, a place for you to start if you haven't painted before. It gives you all the prerequisite courses and then the first time paintings you can do. So we just did two cats and we're going to be doing the birds today. If you'd like to see more about that, be sure to hit the like, comment, and subscribe button. You've seen the materials, so I guess there's nothing to do but just jump on in. In the first step, we're going to be doing a radial stroke. It's a lot of fun for beginners. But one of the things is we want to pinpoint the beginning of the radius, the center of it. So I have chosen on my 9x12 surface to have a radius that is 3.5 inches down, which is like 3.25 inches, which is like 8.5 centimeters. Centimeters, John. And then from the top, it's about 6.5 inches, which is 16.5 centimeters. I just want to get both measurements because I realize we watch from all over the world. And I'm using a little chalk just to know where that is. This is just to help me make sure that my radius isn't like all over the place. Now I'm going to start it with a big wide brush. This is a bright brush. It's about 1 inch wide. This particular one is a number 10 black pearl, but it doesn't really matter the sizes. You just want to think about 1 inch wide. I'm going to go ahead and get it wet on my brush, and I'm going to come over here and start to load some white. I'm going to flip over the load, getting that white kind of loaded. And then I'm going to bring a little bit of my blue over. I'm going to take the blue over to this mix, and we're going to begin here. And to help me get the curve, I'm going to make some little guidance curves. See how I'm on the edge of the brush?
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll come back and kind of straighten that out on the wide. So I went on the edge and now I'm on the wide. I'm allowing this paint, John, to be streaky.
Okay.
And the reason is the streaks kind of give the energy. You could do this. I did a moon, but you could do this as a sun. Bring a little blue over to the white. But the reason I didn't do it as the sun is I was worried it would make everybody's sky go green, green, green. Because blue and yellow make green.
Right.
But once you get this technique down and you're familiar with it, you know where you want to dry it and everything, you could definitely also do a sun. You can see I'm coming here and I'm just allowing this to be kind of flowing around. And a little blue, taking the blue over to the white. Where I want to be sure of how my arc is going, I can come in on the edge and get a sense of it. Right? I'm not making sharp turns. These are little, I don't know, would you call these soft curves, John?
They're, I don't know. Yeah, they're not hard curves. They're very flowy. They seem, what's the word you sometimes use?
So many words.
Motion,
I don't know. I have more than one.
When it implies like there's
implied line or motion?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think there is a bit of that. So this is very much a fantasy sky, even though we're kind of saying it's a moon, so it's at night. You know, we're not worried about it being very dark. We're just allowing ourselves to sort of paint creatively, which was the whole point we probably took it up in the first place, was to be creative. I'm going to get some water in there. You can see I'm controlling my brush, getting water in my brush, bringing these around. Where, you know, I want to be careful is creating weird patterns here. And you can see I'll go back in with the edge of my brush where I think I have a strange kind of width or pattern. And then I can come back. This is painting really well today. I thought maybe I'd have to get the fan brush involved, but I don't think I'm going to have to.
Yeah?
This is just coming out exactly like I wanted. A nice little radial. Look at that go. Looking good.
Yeah.
I've done this before on several paintings. I did some eclipses, and then I had a funny cat with a very multicolorful sky and moon with this technique. That was a lot of fun. So this is a good technique to learn. You can do a lot of creative painting with it. I'm really going through my white on this one, working through mostly that color. But that's going to allow me to have a lot of contrast for my birds to show. And I really want them to pop, so that's okay. You might come and have some sort of blue coming out. I want to improve any of the streaks. I'm just brushing this out. Just making sure my sky seems energetic and interesting.
I think that is very energetic. And it's very interesting.
Energetic and interesting. And bring in little dark colors from the corners. I'm just getting more blue. And I can play with those streaks. My paint is still a little wet, and that helps soften or allow some of this to dry. You just play with that till you're happy. There isn't a right or wrong for this particular sky in any way. Your sky is as valid as any other sky, especially for fantasy skies. I'm going to definitely have to put out some more white paint. All right. I could play with this for an hour, and if you're painting at home, you are welcome to play with this for an hour. Now we're going to want to dry this, and I'll come back and I'll show you the next step. So now we're going to come from the outside in with some darker color. You can do this with a fan brush or continue with your bright brush. Let me just demo this fan so you can see how that's done. We're going to be using it later in the 10 painting series. And again, you can do it with your bright if you don't have a fan. I'm going to get my blue onto my brush, and I'm going to load both sides. Pretty blue. Make sure there's enough water on it for it to flow off. And I'm going to very lightly come over the top and follow my curve that I've already laid out in. See how we're doing?
Yeah.
This is kind of the implication of the night sky. Coming in from the outside.
That's very neat.
Notice that I'm not covering the whole canvas in solid paint. I'm allowing it to almost dry brush. It's not really a dry brush, but it's almost like that because it's skipping and allowing lots and lots of what's underneath to show through. Just in case you don't have a fan, let me show you this technique with the bright.
Okay.
Right? Just in case, because you might not. And if you didn't, I wouldn't want you to feel overwhelmed. So I'm going to get the bright a bit drier than I've been doing it. And I will just do this very carefully. See, I'm just a little more careful with the bright. And I have to be very light in my pressure to get the same kind of technique or effect. So that's how I would do it with the bright. I'm wiping off on paper towels between strokes just so that the brush doesn't carry too much water. Now we have a very intensely vortexy little background, don't we?
Yeah.
I'm going to dry this layer. And I know it's a lot to demonstrate these two layers separately, but it could be hard to know how to put these together to get this effect. So dry the first layer to get here. We're going to dry this layer to get to the next part. So when we come back, I'll show you how to put in the next part. All right, John, for this next part, you guys at home, we really want this surface to be dry because I'm going to use chalk on the paint, and we don't want the chalk to be into the wet paint where it'll be hard to remove. I'm going to use my low-tack tape roll. It's just a regular size tape roll. The inside circle is 3 inches. I'm going to put this here. Let me see what 3 inches in centimeters is 7.5 centimeters. So inside here, I'm going to center it where all the brush strokes are meeting. And I'm going to come in with my chalk tool, my Dritz Chalk tool. Remember, this is a tailor's tool for sewing where the insert is just pure chalk. So it can be washed away with just water. That's why I like to use that. So I've got that there. I'm going to take a 1/2 inch angle brush. I'm going to dip my brush in water. And I'm going to load a little bit of my white paint onto the brush, and I'm going to get a smidge of black and take it to my white. I don't want too dark of a color yet. So I want to control how gray my color is because my moon doesn't want to be like a dark moon. And I'm going to just carefully paint inside my circle. I like to use the edge of this brush to control the turn. So I start with the short filaments on the angle and then brush out. And I'll look up there, see how wobbly my moon is. I'm not as good as the universe is at rounding planetoids. Mine are always early in formation of space, little lopsided, a little bit still in process. That's pretty nice, kind of like a gray, and it's loosely painted.
Yeah.
I'll wipe off my brush because I want the paint to creep up, and I'm going to get just some more white here, and I'm going to come to the left side, and I'm going to loosely put out a little more white paint. I'm just being loose about it, painting roughly.
Yeah.
My pressure on the brush is very light. And then when I come over here, I'll get a little black. Make some little moon shapes.
Moon shapes.
Yeah. And John always teases me about my moon. This is no moon.
That's no moon.
But it is, and we're just kind of implying the craters by having lights and darks, and come on the edge if I want something to be darker. And then I can take the brush more kind of angled to the canvas. I want to kind of dry brush on there, layer on top gently. We have kind of a textural little moon effect. Be sure to wipe your brush out very, very good. You don't want that paint in there. Okay, let's try this so we don't smear it, and I'm going to come back and show you how to do birds on branches because we're going to actually put the birds in before the branches. That's going to be crazy. You guys ready to see that? All right, now in this stage, I put my birds in first because sometimes it's hard to sit a bird on an existing branch, and you can get so into the branch that you don't leave any room for your birds. So what I learned over the years, especially with teaching students, is if I can help you guys get the birds in first, then you can easily put in the branches. Now, I'm going to use my chalk tool, and then I'll sketch it in with paint so you can see it. We're going to talk about creating these birds in senses of circle. So if this is the left-hand side, let's come in just a little bit from the center and maybe 4 fingers down from the top. We just want to have some room inside. And I'm going to make a little circle that's about the size of anywhere between a silver dollar and a quarter. It doesn't have to be super specific. Just a nice little circle. And then I'm going to make a little egg-shaped circle that's bigger coming off the body. And then I like to come in and make a little pointed shape for the tail. A little wing here. And let me show you that in paint so it's easier for you to see. I'm going to take my number 4 round. Right? This is an area, if you're not comfortable drawing this with me, you could use the traceable. I'm going to begin with just a little bit of red. Now, the red's going to be very transparent and a lot of the blue is going to show through. So I'm going to start out by adding a little black to my red because I'm going to be lightening it up as I go. This is going to give me a little depth to my bird. And rolling that out. Now you're going to be able to see how I do the face. I'm going to come here, very small, little circle right here. And then there is this little bird body shape that I build from. Little backwards wing. You come from here like the little side on the circle, back and back. Doesn't really have to be perfect. And that takes a minute to learn. Things don't have to be perfect to work. And then back here, we're going to do a little ribbon tail where the tail is sort of tucked in like that. And I'm not at this stage even going to worry about things like the beak or fluffiness of the feathers. We're just going to kind of get this in.
Just the basic shape?
Yeah, and then we'll paint everything in solid. Now, as a beginner, until you start to learn to control your lines and forms, you may find that your bird has an unusual or unexpected body shape. It's pretty typical, actually. Maybe your bird's very skinny and very lawn darty. Maybe your bird is very fat and fluffy. Here's the thing. It doesn't really matter. Your bird is just fine the way your bird is. Right? You got to remember that you're learning, and there's a lot of magic in that. So it's okay to be a little bit different than me. If you're worried about it, you can use the traceable, but it's good to learn. So isn't that funny how this shape becomes the bird that we saw in our little example painting? Now let's come down here. He's got a little friend. I might do this one all in paint so you can see it the whole way through. Now I'm going to want him to be even more towards the right-hand side from center, but I do want him to be about 3 fingers up. So I'll make a little dot there. I want him to be a little bit up. I want room for branches and berries and things. And I'll start with his body. I started with the head here because I wanted to make sure I didn't go off the page, but here I'm going to start with his body because I'm going to make sure that he's the right size up. So let's begin with a very similar shaped circle that we did from up here. That's the body circle. And then coming in on the inside of the circle, I'm going to do the little head circle. Remember, you can always make things bigger, but it's hard to make things smaller. And then we're going to come here and I'll say that there's a little wing coming off the side. I like to add a few little feathers coming down the back. Fun. And then I'm going to come here and pull in just a few brush strokes. You see I'm pulling in, creating almost that feather, implied feather.
Yeah, I like these little birds.
They're just cute. They're much like our cute bug from yesterday, from the 2 cats. Not specific any kind of bird, right? Cute bird. That's what it is. Cute bird.
Very cute bird.
Cute bird. Now black is going to paint really well over the bird, so I can actually put his tail down now, even though I know I'm going to come over it with a branch. So I want about the same size tail as his friend. You can see I'm bringing the 2 strokes and leaving a little V in there. What? I know. It's so cool. Okay. Now let's dry that, and then we're going to, believe it or not, put in our branches next. So let's do that. So when we have them in, we can start to grow branches across. I'm going to go ahead and get my brush a little bit wet and thin my black paint. I'm going to take a drop of my black paint and I'm going to swirl around and roll the brush. And what I'm doing is I'm thinning the paint so that it's more fluid and will flow off my brush well. Right? I don't want it to be thick because while it's still thick and heavy bodied, it's not going to flow. If you have craft paint or soft body paint, you don't need to do this, or even medium body paint. This is what I have to do because I use a heavy body paint. Okay. So we're going to say that the branch will start, 2 fingers over from the left. I've made a little black mark. I am doing just fine. And the branch is going to come down, enter the bird's body here, and exit here. He's not impaled. He's sitting on top of it. Right? And let's say that the furthest branch is going to come over here to the right. Well, we've made a little road map. And so I'm going to come and I'm going to hold my brush. I'm going to make a little wobbly line. If you have wobbly lines, this is in your favor at this stage. Now this one I don't want to go too thick with, but I want it to come out of the bird. So at least, 1/4 of an inch. Coming here, I'm going to wander. Rolling my brush to have nice flow. Creating a little tapered branch. This can be hard when you're new. Remember to practice branches like we talked about in the technique course, in the brush stroke course. Practice those brush strokes, practice these things before you get on your canvas. You'll be less frustrated. Now I'm going to go ahead and thicken this out to say about a 1/2 inch maybe. And then as it grows towards there, it has to thin or taper down. Now, because these are like a little unusual berry bush or something. What I'll say is, and they're twisted, they can be a little bumpy. Bumpy is good. Well, that's a branch going that way now, but we want it to have some personality. So let's come up here, right to about there, and let's pull down another little branch friend. The brush is pressing at the beginning and then releasing at the end of the stroke. A little water on there. Keep thinning the paint if you're running out of your thinned paint, right? Incorporating black pigment into it. It's pretty fun.
Very fun.
All right. Here is a nice little bend in the branch, so I can bring a little branch out this way. And notice I let the little toe of it kind of wiggle around. It's a very artful, fun little twiggles. There we go. Twiggly, twiggly, twigglies.
I like the twigs. I like these branches especially.
They're fun. They look like the kind of branch adorable, cute red birds might land on. They have that feel to them. Bring another little branch out here and another one. You can really have fun with this. It can be as interesting as you want it to be, or as simple as you choose. Like to give it lots of places for maybe the berries to be. And you can't really get it wrong because some of these trees, they're very meandering. So you can just enjoy what they're doing. It's easy to thicken a branch. It's a little tough to thin it. So that's what kind of happens to people. You can even let's say you wanted to just live big. You could have even a little bit of a branch coming up here.
Oh,
yeah. Right? Little balance, a little interest. Okay, let's come down here. Now, this branch, this bird is proper sitting on. So I'm going to come to the bottom of the belly. And I'm going to make a little line across right there. So I know that he's sitting on that. Let's come up, about 4 fingers from the right. and have a little branch grow down here. I want a little bit of tail peeking out, so I've got to kind of keep it to there. And just bring that across. Oh, now that's maybe, oh, there's a crookedy little branch growing down here, like they do.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes branches are weird and crookedy, and you gotta love a crookedy branch.
I really like these branches and the birds.
Maybe a little bent one that comes up like that. I do too. They're just fun to paint. You could do yellow birds, you could do blue bird. Well, blue on blue birds would be very camouflagey, but purpley birds. Let's come here and add a little branch. So I try to stagger my branches a little bit visually so they're not making forks or pitchforks and things. And I'm also going to have a lot of berries, so I don't have to be too overwhelmed or concerned with it. Because, you know, berries. Berries make it much easier. Okay. Let's say that there's another little twisted joint coming off over here. And I just allow my brush to kind of wander, do its little work. It says, oh. And let's say has a little vein, maybe a little vein there. There we go. So we've got a little bit here. Okay. Rinse that brush out and come back, and I'm going to show you how to do the twist in the bark and the highlights for the moon to make this look even more barky. You don't have to dry, but it may help you on this layer. So your branches have twiggled out and they feel like little unusual in the night, little strange. They should be like strange creatures. I'm going to come here and I'm going to make a highlight. So we've got the light source here, and even though this is decorative and fun, I'm going to run highlights along the bottom side of this branch, right, to the side that's close to the moonlight, on this bottom side. Then it would be on the inside of this one. Here, it'd be the inside of the crook here along the top of these branches. In case you're wondering, why did we decide to put that gray highlight there? I'm going to take a little bit of my black over to my white, and I need to make a gray that is darker than my lightest highlight, but still pretty light compared to the black. Right? So kind of a middle gray there. See how I'm just adding black till I get to it?
Yeah.
I have control. And I need it to be thick enough where it's not too thinned and transparent to cover the branches. And you can see I'm rolling my round brush so that it doesn't crawl up the ferrule too much. And let's come along the inside of this, just on the outside of this branch. I'm going to put a little highlight, and some of those little highlights are going to twist in. Yeah, I'm twisting it in.
I do.
Those are little twisty in highlights. They don't have to be anything in particular. They do not have to be perfect anyway.
And you're just sort of curving them around to imply.
Yeah. Curving them around to imply is exactly right. And I might twist inward like that. And then when we come along the top of this branch, and twisting the top. Back. Not pressing hard. It's just a very decorative bit of kit here. Now I'm going to do the top branch. Remember, I'm going to do this side of the branch, but to make sure that I'm taking care of my neck and back and I don't want to bend way over, I'm going to turn my surface around. But I'll remember it's going to be on the side of the moon. So this is the top branch now. On the inside here. Now, it's true this is decorative. You might go, do I want to have it on the top here? And probably I would do it at the bottom, but at this stage, we're just doing some uniformity. Right, where we have a little control. Get on the inside here. Continue on. Stroking inward. And take a minute to learn to do this. Don't get frustrated with yourself. These are your first 10 paintings, not your last 10. Right?
Exactly.
So you've got a second to kind of learn how to do this stuff. I'm going to turn this back around so that you can kind of see how we highlighted those. And I need a lighter gray.
Okay.
So I'm going to rinse out. Make sure I don't have the hidden drop. And I'm going to take some of my gray over towards my white. Right? Following my tinting strength. Make a bright highlight. I still see a drop hiding in my handle. And this is pretty dry now, so I can come along here. I don't paint out the little bit of highlight that I have. I don't necessarily have to hit every inch of it now because this is like the bright light. And that's what's sort of fun with this, is that you don't have to worry about every bit of it. Just some of it. Getting that bright highlight in. We're going to have berries here, so you don't want to do all your work and then paint over all your hard work with your berries. You can put a little highlight in some of these twists. But notice it's just a little touch here and there. It's not super, super duper hard. Okay. I'm going to do the same thing. And I'm going to turn the branch around again so the top is at the bottom.
That's a very handy thing to keep you in good sitting position.
Well, we keep our canvases flat, which I don't always recommend for my students because it can throw your neck and back out of position. I have a bunch I have to say about that on my how to set up a home studio video in this course. That being said, our camera does not like an angled canvas. So this is how we made adjustments to make sure that, my positioning wasn't dangerous to my health. All right, look at that.
That's looking fantastic.
Now let's dry that and we'll come back and add the first layer for berries. So I'm going to show you how to paint the berries with a brush. That being said, if you ever see any of my videos where I use Q-tips, that would be another alternate technique that would do these berries very easily. So it's really up to you, but I want to show you how to do them with a brush. I'm going to get some water and I'm going to bring it over and thin my white in the same way that I thinned my dark paint. Taking my number 4 round still this number 4 round. And we're going to just do white on this one, on this step. Okay, guys?
Mm-hmm.
Just going, and I'm rolling so it's not crawling up my ferrule. Getting on the toe. And then I'm going to come here and make a lot of little different sized white circles. The reason I do the circles different sizes is berries aren't all the same size and sometimes they layer. And that variety is pleasing to the eye. I'm just twirling the little brush around. Now, something I want you guys to know about my berries, I'm not trying to make crisp, sharp dot edges.
Mm-hmm.
If I wanted to make crisp, sharp dot edges, I would use my Q-tips, or I would use a dotting tool, or I would use something else. When you're not near the painting, these will look very sharp, but up close, you'll see little kind of swirly bits.
Right.
And we don't mind that. That's not bad. And we're going to put these all around our little branches. And everywhere we put a white dot, we're going to come back with our bright orangey red. So you have to kind of decide how long you want to dot for. This is probably one of the more time-consuming techniques on this particular painting. But just because dots take a minute.
Right.
Not because it's hard or problematic, but just because it takes a second. Could be hard if you were really hard on yourself about the dots.
I like the dots.
I like dots too. But I don't want to be hard on myself about them. I just want that general feeling. So we have a fire brush bush outside my back door, and all the little cardinals come in. If you're wondering where this actually came from my backyard. This is inspiration.
Mm-hmm.
And so in the winter, they all come eat all the little berries, and then there's little groups of them that are in there, and they fly away, and it's just the coolest thing to look at, and I really liked it. Again, if you're having any trouble with any of these techniques, definitely watch all the videos in this beginner acrylic painting course, because we cover everything from studio setup to paint to techniques to color mixing. We just address all those first questions from those first years. So if there's something that's giving you trouble, definitely watch that. And if somehow we didn't answer your specific challenge, leave a question in the comments below, or come by one of the live chats or the after show. We're trying to get there. Whether you're here on during the live or you're here on replay, I think I want some more berries down here. I try to make it so that you guys can reach me as much as possible. I get a lot of questions a month, but I get to as many as I can. And I also have, people trying to help me get to questions. So if it's something like a link would answer it, we just try to make sure that you guys are heard. All right, that's a nice little cluster of branches. Now I'm going to spin this around. Now I'm going a little bit low on my paint. So I'm going to add some water to my white, make some more berry paint. All the berries.
All the berries.
Sometimes I do bigger and smaller, and I like to layer them. But again, everywhere I put one of these white dots, I've got to come back with my red. So I'm thinking about that. It's okay to be painterly and loose and expressive in these kinds of techniques. That's all right. Adding the little swirls, adding the little dot, twirling the little brush around, little ballerina dancing on the toe. Hmm?
Said,
Oh my goodness, that was a step, wasn't it?
That is a step.
And we got to do it twice because we got to do the red next. But let's dry this, otherwise we'll have pink berries. And we want red berries. So let's dry it and we'll come back and we'll paint the red layer. We've got our white all dry now and we're going to put the red layer on. And we do this so that our color, if it's transparent, stays bright because it won't be bright over the blue because the red's so transparent. So I'm going to pull out some red and I want just a little bit of lightening. So even though normally I take my darkest color over to my lightest color for its tinting strength, in this case, I'm not really trying to substantially change the color of the red. I'm just trying to take it out of a cool red to a warm red. Right? And that would be like one of those times when we take the yellow over to the red because I'm not trying to make orange. I'm just trying to make a red that's bright, more like a fire truck. I'm going to load some up on my toe, and then everywhere I have white, I'm going to come back over, making the same swirls. And create the berries. All around creating the berries.
Just berry making.
Yeah, it's a very zen moment in the painting. You can relax by the end of it. Let's just be still and berry up. You can see that they're just not perfect circles, they're little berry circles.
Mm-hmm.
And that's as they should be. Little berry circles.
Those are nice berries.
Nice little berries. Move this around a little bit. See if that helps the positioning for painting it.
Mm-hmm.
Move your canvas, not your body, if you can. If you can. Can't? I want to think about what kind of equipment you're using or how you've set up your paint studio, because you've got to remember to factor in not just all the furniture, not the light, not just the paint, but you.
Mm-hmm.
You're the most important part of your own art studio. You're the artist. All the rest of it is a support for you.
That is correct.
Don't forget yourself in your plans. It's easy to put ourselves last. But in our art studio, we have to consider ourselves fully.
Mm-hmm.
Just making little dots. It's really about the totality of them.
Mm-hmm.
That makes the big difference, too.
Very nice trees.
I like the way little berry.
I like the way they're positioned, sort of looking at the moon.
Yeah, that's fun, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and again, it could have been the sun, but this would have, when we put the yellow in there, it just could have ended up feeling like green. Or, but you could go sun. There would be nothing wrong with it.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing wrong with it if that was your gold. You can make little changes like that to a painting and have it be just fine. Even in lessons. Oh my goodness. Did we paint a lot of red berries?
Looking sharp.
Remember, I kind of cook along. You can always pause and rewind me.
Mm-hmm.
You can spend more time on your berries. You can do berries and then come back later for berries. But let's dry this, right? And when we come back, we're going to work on our birds a little more. Now we've got some birds that we've got to add some layers to. And at this stage, I'm going to come in with still a little bit of my black mixed into my red. I brought my black over here, just a small amount. And I want that second coat. You see this?
Mm-hmm.
Because this will be the darkest feathers. And we'll do an interesting thing where we come back and do the white trick again, where we put a white kind of underpainting where we want the feathers to pop. But sometimes with student paints, there's some interesting tricks that you do, or more economical paints or more transparent paints that help you get a good result to your painting.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see that second layer just really deepens everything. Now, for the next layer, I've got to have this be dry, and I don't want this to be a whole step. So we're going to just dry this in this step, and then come back and add that next layer, okay?
Okay.
So when these are dry, it will let us do some layers on there, and that way what's underneath won't be necessarily coloring what's on top. So I'm going to come in at first, interestingly enough, with a little bit of black on the toe of my brush. Watch for that hidden water drop. And I'm going to come to the end of this face, right there at the tip, and make a tiny little triangle. And come back with yellow and white to get the highlights. You don't have to get that now. That's how we're going to get that highlight. Get some more black. And I'm going to come to this outer side, and I'm going to make a little circle, like the size of a sesame seed. And then I'm going to come right across here, make a slightly bigger circle. Let's come down to this little fellow down here. And I'm going to come to the side. Give ourselves a little eye there. And then we're going to go up, down, make a downward little triangle. And this, interestingly enough, will end up being the beak. And I'll show you how to get that little highlight. And come here again,
Kind of
slightly bigger.
Gives his head a little direction.
Give his head a little direction. And while I'm at it, I can come in and add 1, 2, 3, 4 little lines for feet. Because he's sitting on the branch, so you want him to look like he's sitting.
His feet.
His feet are showing. The eyes and everything are drying. I'm going to come in and add just a little bit of white, not much, to my paint here.
Okay.
And this is where I had the yellow and red. Just a little bit. And this wing, I'm going to glaze a little bit of that on with. Just this outer wing. Because have you ever noticed that sometimes wings will have a different color on the inside of the wing? That's a thing that happens. I'm also maybe going to come in and do the same here. All right, that's good. I'm going to rinse out. And I'm going to get some white. This is a shocking trick, but let's get some white. I'm going to come here and add a little white to the tip of the tail. And let's come to the edge of this wing again. I'm pulling the stroke back. Okay, that creates a little space for a wing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say that there's a little bit of feathers coming here. We're going to peek a little cheek. If my black is dry, I can add just a little bit of white to the top.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit. It's a weird trick, but it works. And I'm going to come down here, do some interesting similar things as well. Let's come on the belly. Add some little white feathers. Maybe a little bit here at the tail. And then this wing is a little bit forward. Pull those. And I'm going to come to the head.
I like the highlights there.
Now the top of the beak's going to be a little bit of a challenge, but you've got this. We're going to come to the top. Just make sure the top of the beak has a little bit of white on there. Maybe that. Now, let's dry this, and then when we come back with the next glaze of red, it will really pop. And that's a trick about layering very transparent colors that you want to be vibrant. Okay, so we dry it.
Okay.
Okay, then we'll come back, and it's a new step. So we're so close to done.
So close.
So close. I'm going to grab, while we're at it, just a little yellow away from my main yellow. Pull that out and just get some pure yellow. And I'll go ahead and take the time to put the yellow on top of, and I can even sometimes get some white into it, because white can help improve its opacity, make it more opaque. A little yellow at the top of a beak. And maybe a little yellow at the top of a beak. See, and then it's like a little shaded beak. Isn't that fun?
That is. A little
The
shaped
figure.
beak.
Now, I'm going to get some just red. Put that aside. Still my number 4 round as I trudge along, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go ahead and layer up some of this pure red color. I haven't added any yellow to warm it. And then I'm going to come from the back of his head. I don't get too much into my white yet. And I'm going to add this just bright red over the top of everything.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of glazing and brightening that up. Come here too. Just layering. Now I'll be back with a little bit of pink on those cheeks. You're starting to see it. There we go. We'll come back with a little bit of the yellow and red in a second. We're just getting some brightness going. Can you see how that helps create that brightness and feather in the bird?
Mm-hmm. It's a very nice highlight. The white really helps it pop.
It really does. And sometimes if you don't know about these layers or you don't know about how to create these effects, these kind of projects can seem overwhelming, but once you see what it was, you're like, oh, I got that, because you do. Now, I'm going to add some yellow to my red. Warm it. Right? And I kind of went in yellow first, but it got a little light, so I'm adding some red back in. And as you can see, because the tinting strength of red is so high, that's really not a problem. I'm going to come back here and add some feathers. Maybe a little bright pop of that brighter red here at the front of the face.
Mm-hmm.
Come in on the wings some. Maybe a little more in the orange here, and I'm going to just, there you go, adding a little bit. come here and be kind of playful with him. Almost like a cockatiel.
Yeah.
Putting that bright red at the belly. And go right back into that mix with the white. Adding a little bit of fluffy feathers. A little bit of interest.
It's one of the things I like a lot is how fluffy it is.
The fluffiness?
The fluffiness.
The fluffiness is always good. Okay, so we're letting this have a little moment, and let's make some of our gray. Gray. And I want as fine of a line. Now, if you're having a lot of trouble with fine lines, you don't have to do this part.
Get in there so we can see that really good.
All right, you don't have to do this part at all. When I come back with black, what I'll have is a very fine little line of gray.
Mm-hmm.
And help define that eye even a little bit. So I'm going to get my black paint on my brush, on the toe. And again, just leave it black if you have trouble with these fine spaces. All right, this is not your friend. Just stay black. Okay. I'm going to come in with my black line. My paint is pretty dry.
Oh, you're just
make a little sort of contour line around the wing.
Oh yeah, I like that.
Right? Help define the little zones of Mr. Birdie Pants. And let's come here and a little around the back. There's a little bit of feathers.
Okay.
A contour line. My paint was getting a little thick and I wasn't liking the line it was giving me. That's why I fixed that. A little bit of black there, kind of creating these different zones.
Really just sort of, it makes them really pop out.
It does. It's just a light little imperfect line. We're not making perfect lines. We're not using markers, right? We could use a Posca pen if you find the brush to be kind of a problem. Rinse out your brush twice, like 2 cups of water. You want all the black paint out, right?
Yep. Super clean.
All right. Now, when we come back, we're going to put on white highlights on berries and birds, which brings all the contrast together. It makes your bird come out of the canvas like magic. So for this stage, we're going to thin a little bit of our paint again. If we have heavy body paint, if you have craft, don't worry about it. And I'm going to load on the toe of my brush. And I'm going to come into the eye and I'm going to add a little reflection. Look at that little reflection on his little eyes. Yeah. And then I might come here on the inside of his little chest and add little loops. You go loop, loop. Kind of imply feathers. A little bit on the wing. Little light lines that are very playful.
Yeah.
And come back here. Do like a nice little reflection there and a nice little reflection there. And let's capture some of these little backward feathers.
Little up to feathers.
A little bit. See, we're just capturing that. So these little lines help create the space here. Okay. Now I can come in and get a little bit of my pink, which is my white and red. I want pink. I'm rolling out my brush. And let's come under the eye and add a little pink blush. That's kind of cute, isn't it?
Very cute.
These little cute touches, the last little bits. You can take your red and go around some berries where you just do the red and make some darker. Not all of them. But it's a weird little touch.
Oh, yeah.
Of creating just different little values of berries. Not all, just some. Sometimes I'll grab even the kind of orangey red. That final little touching layer. Just hopping around. Hopping around. You don't have to follow exactly my brush footprints here. You can if you want to put me on half speed on the video and be like, I only put paint. Where she puts paint, that's okay. I'm going to rinse out. And then I'm going to get some of my very fluid white paint on the toe of my brush. And add little dots.
Very nice little dots.
You don't have to do every berry, just some. But the little dots help the berries feel like berries.
It does help bury the berry.
We don't want to bury the lead. Is that as funny as I thought? Probably not.
What is the lead you're burying?
That two little birds sat on a branch painting with me today.
That's a very good lead.
And just little dots. You can see I'm just on the toe of my brush. It's the paint I've already thinned. You just take these around wherever you need them to be. And remember, the berries weren't perfect little round circles. Use a dotting tool if we want that. Just little gestural.
Gesture. That was the word I was looking for earlier. When you were talking about the curvy lines.
Oh, yeah. The gesture of the berry. The expressiveness of the berry. Okay, so. But these are cute birds, and they're on branches. And I painted many cute birds on branches, so this is becoming a thing.
You know, it's hard to paint not cute birds.
So many cute birds on branches.
That's good. I like it.
We're going to sign the painting, John.
All right.
I'm going to get my brush over here. And I'm going to get into my black paint, I think. I'm kind of under my branch. I'm going to leave just a little signature. How do you sign your paintings? I get asked a lot. And what I'll say is my signature has changed over the years a lot. Practice on a piece of paper with your paint, your different signature ideas. Look at different people's signatures and ask yourself what you like about that. And remember that, you know, unless you're trying to be a professional artist, even changing your signature is not a big deal. This is a time of discovery. My mom has had so many signatures. I've had many signatures. Many artists have. So it's not unusual to change your mind. And if you know that it's okay and flexible, then you don't feel locked in. And that kind of removes the stress. Guys, this was so cool.
Really nice.
We did this. All right. We're going to come back tomorrow and do another painting together, and we'll show you that at the end of this video if you want a sneak peek. This, again, part of a big painting program. So if any of this was hard or frustrating and you haven't watched all the videos in the series, I do recommend it because I believe they'll make things easier for you and help you be successful on that beginner acrylic painting course. You can find all of it on the website. It'll be here all year. If you're here for the live, thank you for being here. And if I missed your question, make sure you leave a comment after the show and let me know what that is. If you're here on the replay, even a year later, years later, I check my YouTube channel and my website all the time for questions. So we will probably still get to your question. Mm-hmm. I can't wait to see theirs. Share with me online, Instagram, Facebook, all the little human places where people share things. I'd love to see your version. I think we're going to hop on over for an after show Q&A. Our moderators will leave a link to where that is. Guys, this was good.
Very good.
Okay, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe because I'm awesome in that way and I teach art for free. Very cool, right? Cool. Okay. You check out tomorrow's video. I hope to see you there. Be good to yourselves. Be good to each other. And I want to see you in an easel really soon. Bye-bye.
Straight from the hot party, now everybody let it be. No need for words like can't or ain't. Just grab your brushes, come on, let's paint. Don't think too hard, it's easy. Plus, it's a lot of fun.